Hi, I'm Michelle Aitken, and today we're going to take a look at TruEmbroidery software. TruEmbroidery is the world's first machine embroidery software written specifically for Apple Mac computers. I really love TruEmbroidery and use it all the time. Today I'm going to quickly take you through the 3 apps that make up TruEmbroidery software. There is TruStudio and TrueModify, both of which work with existing embroidery designs. And then there is TruCreate, my all-time favorite. I love to digitize, and so TruCreate is the software app that I use the most. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's begin. By now you will have installed your software and have your dongle safely connected to a USB port of your Mac computer. I've placed my TruEmbroidery icons down onto my dock. I will launch TruStudio now. TruStudio is primarily used to add something to an already existing embroidery, so you will always be working with embroidery files when working with TruStudio. Let's take a moment to acquaint ourselves with the top toolbar. On the left-hand side, we have assistance and actions. The assistants that you have with this particular app are a quick create, which will create an embroidery from a drawing, and portrait, which will create an embroidery from a photo. In your actions, you can see that you have a few different things that you can do, and these are largely repeats of what you will find in the File tab of the toolbar. However, if you've taken your TruStudio to full screen, you will find it probably more comfortable to use an action rather than come to File. The next area of tools are our Zoom tool. We have Magnify Out, Magnify In, our Marquee Magnify, where we click and drag a rectangle and magnify to that rectangle, and our Zoom to Fit. Presently my work area is magnified to 44% of its true size. We also have a Zoom slider, which as you can see is easy to use. On the right side of our toolbar, we have our resize, we have our hoops. Here you can select a different size hoop, or you can nominate a work area. To nominate a hoop size, remove the check mark from the Enter Hoop Size, select your machine, and then scroll down to select the hoop size you wish. You will find that there are hoop sizes for many different brands of machines right here. The next series of icons are for loading a background. So here you can import a JPEG file and various other picture file formats. You can make the background so that it is faint, full strength, and everything in between. And here you can move the background around. What is interesting is that you can move the background so that it is half in the work area and half out of the work area. Our view mode allows us to move from 3D to 2D. The player mode enables us to see how our embroidery will stitch out. And the last 2 icons launch our panels, the control panel and the design viewer. Design viewer is where you will bring in a pre-existing machine embroidery design. Let's do that now. Click on Design Viewer. In order to find the samples that came with TruStudio, you'll click here and select Choose. You can view your files according to your viewing preference. Here I'm going to view my TruEmbroidery files. You can follow the path through from your own home file to TruEmbroidery, Samples, and then you will find your various designs. As you click through and choose a folder, you'll now see that in the file viewer, all of the designs in that folder have appeared, and you can preview them. You have many hundreds of wonderful pre-existing or pre-digitized embroidery files right here. I'm going to select this one right now. I can either close or keep open my file viewer. I'll close it by selecting my gumdrop. The final panel launches our control panel, and our control panel can be moved and placed anywhere that is convenient on your screen. Let's look at the functions of the control panel. The first window that we can see is our design window. Here we see the two colors of threads, and by clicking on that color you can launch your thread options and change the color of your threads. You can see how many stitches the embroidery has, its width and its height, and how many colors. We can rotate the embroidery, center the embroidery in the hoop. We can modify the design, and we can color sort. Notice here you can also place notes by selecting Edit, and then adding to the notes already there. Deleting those notes and making your own is also a possibility. The next tab allows us to encore our design. We can encore our design according to various shapes or to the hoop. We can have them standard or we can have them mirror imaged. The next one allows us to add lettering. There's a strict rule about lettering, and that is that you cannot resize it once you've created it. So let's take a quick moment to consider what we're viewing here. The first area shows you which kind of script you're looking at. Here is where you preview it, and here is where you see the script name and the size range that it can be made in. So this script, Adina, can be made from 12 to 40 millimeters. Presently, I have 12 millimeters selected, but I can increase that provided I remain in the range 12 to 40 millimeters. Here is where I type my letters. I can bring my letters up and decide where to place them. Function Delete will take that away again. Below our letters we have our line type, and this works pretty much the same as most other graphics tools work, in that you can select the shape that the overall type will take on. Control Return will take you down one line. Select Apply when you're happy with what you've chosen. I can see that I've got some room to move with this one and that I could make it bigger. So Function Delete to delete it, and then come here and create a new one with a bigger font size. The next tab on our control panel will add a super design. You can read more about these in your manual, but you can see that there's a whole range of them. Buttonholes are one of my favourite. The next tab along is where we can add a border. Now, in order to select a border that will size to our design, I select the largest area of my design, and then I can choose a border type and select Apply. You can see that our border has snapped around the larger of the two embroidery designs quite neatly. You can continue to add borders, and you will see that as long as you have the largest thing selected, it will just snap them to size. There are a large number of different kinds of frames and borders that you can add to your piece, and these can be great fun to play with. The final part of our control panel is where we can choose to add a border that has a satin line, a triple stitch, a running border, or a motif line. These are tools that you will explore as you learn more about TruEmbroidery. If we go back to our Design tab, we can see that there are a couple of things that we can do. We can color sort, and we can modify the design. Again, just a warning, you don't want to modify our lettering because lettering must always be created and left to the size that we created it. Let's take a look now at our TrueModify module. TrueModify has many of the same kinds of icons across the top toolbar. Let's just look at those again. In our actions, just as TrueStudio, we have all of the kinds of actions that we might want to use. These can also be found under File. We have our zoom tools, including our zoom slider. We have our resize function, our hoop, our viewing mode, our player, our viewer, which is a design viewer, and we'll look at machine embroideries because TrueModify works with already created embroideries, and our control panel. Let's bring through some embroideries to begin with. Again, to find all of my different samples, I'll come down here and I'll select my arrows and the word choose. This will open my whole Finder pathway. Scrolling down here, I will find my TrueEmbroidery folders, samples, and here again are some of my different designs. This time I'm going to have a look at something a little bit different. Let's see what we can find under fashion. I go choose folder, and now all of the designs contained in the fashion folder are viewable here on our floating panel. This one here will be just fine for what we want to do. Again, go to your gumdrops and either close or leave open this floating panel, and now open your control panel. Again, that can be moved to anywhere on your screen. What can we see here? Our control panel has two views, Design and Modify. Design enables you to see the elements that you're currently viewing. We can see one design, and that design is made up of these colors. The design itself has 6,380 stitches, and it's 77.3 millimeters high and 63.5 millimeters wide, with a total of 5 colors. Towards the bottom of our control panel, we see our selection tools. These tools enable us to select areas of our design. I'm going to use this shortly to select our flower and leaf. On the right side we have our modify, so we can center it, rotate it, reverse the order of the stitch out, and color sort. Let's just take a quick look at some of the things that we can do here in Modify. I'll start by zooming in closer to my design. And then I will switch off some of the colours that I don't want to view. I'd like to select the flower and leaves shown here. I'll do that by selecting, in this instance, my polygon select tool. And I'll left mouse click to draw around. Right mouse clicking will place a selection box around it. Now I can go Command Copy and Command Paste. And I will have pasted a duplicate of those flowers. If I come to Modify, I have a few tools that I can use. Let's consider each section of the Modify screen separately. The Design section of the Modify window will allow you to add compensation to a design. This is used if you're finding that elements of the design are coming apart from each other. This usually happens because of something called the push-pull factor, and it can happen with a ready-made design. So here you can work with that compensation. You can break up the stitches if you need to just have them further apart, and you can go to your density advisor, which will tell you if a design is very dense or not too dense at all. You can add some basting around your design. You can optimize your design. This will remove any stitches that are unnecessary to your design. And you can add your trim commands. Working below, we have a number of tools. We have the Insert a Color Change tool. So if I wanted to change the color, say, of the green center, and I wanted to make that yellow, we can add a stop command. We can insert a trim command. We can delete other commands. We can insert stitches. We can insert tie on stitches and tie off stitches. Below that we can add embossing to a design. This is particularly relevant if you've increased the size of a design with satin stitch and the satin stitch is now too large. You can add some embossing to it, for an example. You can add cut work lines to a design, and you can morph a design. Now, morphing a design changes the appearance of a design, and you have quite a few different morphing tools to choose from, so that we can skew, we can sphere it, we can twirl it, we can do a whole lot of different things with it. These are fun to play with because they can cause effects that you may never have considered doing. So, for instance, we can spherize a design, and you can see that immediately it's changed its shape considerably. We can twirl a design, and the more you twirl it, the more it changes its function and form. And you can see now it looks quite different. It just looks like a splash of colour. We can pinch a design, and again, pinching it changes its form, and so on and so forth. These are fun to just play with to see what they actually do and what you end up with. Bear in mind that you would probably be well advised, if you've done anything like this, to then take it through the density advisor, because you may have increased the density considerably. Let's copy the singular flower so that we can make a border out of it, and we'll come up here to edit and we'll just copy just that design. Select File, New, and we'll open a new work area. Just Command Paste, and you will see that that smaller motif that we separated from the larger design has appeared on our screen. Let's just quickly encore that to create a lovely border. You can see that we can preview our border, and we can cancel it if it is not as we wish it to be. Changing the direction of the design will change what kind of border we get. When you're happy with the design, you can apply the design. We can copy that and come back to our True Modify, where we can remove the singular design, and paste our frame. Here you can see that we've now popped our border around our original design. That's our quick introduction to TrueModify and TrueStudio. TruCreate is a more complex app. It's the app that you use if you're wanting to actually digitize a design. I've been working on a design at the moment, so let's come and open TruCreate and take a look at where we're at. Again, TruCreate has the same tools open to you. We have some assistance that we can use our quick create to the hoop or to the rectangle, and this will use a background picture to create a new design. I confess that I never use these tools. I'm a fan of digitizing manually. Again, our actions will be a combination of our file and our edit tab. We have our zoom tools, our hoop, we've got our background tools, our tools for viewing, our player, and our control panels. We've added a new panel this time. We've got our viewer, we've got our film strip, and we have our control panel. If we open a design using our viewer, here you will see that I have been working on a number of different files, and these are all EDO files. I'll choose one that I've been working on, and it will land into our screen. However, it's landed without any of the background picture, and I've been using a background picture to create my embroidery. It doesn't matter which EDO you use, our background picture simply isn't going to be there if I open it in this viewing mode. I'll delete that and show you another way that you can view files that you have already begun. We can come here to File and Open. Here you can come through your Finder and you can locate the file that you were last working on, and you can open it. And this time you can see it's opened with all of the graphic that I've been using in behind it. I'll just do a touch of digitizing so that you can see how these tools relate. We can come here now and we can launch our film strip. The film strip currently shows every element of our design. When you learn how to digitize, you will learn how to use this effectively. But since this is an introduction, you'll simply observe me using it. We will now launch our control panel. And our control panel provides us with a number of different tools. Again, as you learn to digitize, you will learn the function of each of these tools. But since this is just an introduction, I'm only going to take a moment to show you how they work. I want you to also observe, and this is very important, that because we have used File Open, we are working on the original file. If we had used our viewer, we would be working on a copy. This is particularly important when you're working in TrueStudio and TrueModify. If you open the original file and you change that file, you have forever changed your original embroidery. This is why I chose to only show you how to open it in View Designs. Right now I'm just going to continue working on this design, and I'm going to insert some more areas of my design. So I've come to my film strip, I've selected the color that I want to work with so that it will color sort correctly, and I'm just going to come over to my tools and select my tool, but I will zoom in on the area that I'm wanting to use first. So I'm just going to use my continuous column tool here, and I will place some nodes. Again, this is really just an introduction, and I'm not aiming to teach you how to actually digitize it all. I just want you to see that it is in fact possible. placing some satin stitches into my design. And now I'm just editing the design to give me the look I'm after. I can choose all sorts of different kinds of fill stitches and so on. Now for this one I'm creating my own underlay, so that's my underlay. When you're digitizing, you can actually place these nodes right on top of the previous nodes to make sure that the lines of stitch remain aligned. And I'm just playing with the angle of the pattern until I have it in precisely the right place. And that's just what I want. So you can see that when you're digitizing, you can use many different tools. You can work on top of a picture, and you can work independently. If you're wanting to know more about actual digitizing, right here on my website you can find much more information with lessons that have already been written for you to follow, and very soon you'll also find that you can purchase a live webinar class or a DVD recording. So just keep watching under our TruEmbroidery lessons for more lessons about actual digitizing. And of course, next year in 2014, I'll be hosting the second National Digitizing event, especially for people who want to learn how to digitize. That concludes our very quick introduction to TruEmbroidery today. I hope that you'll take the time to work through the lessons that came with TruEmbroidery, and that you will perhaps find lessons among the ones that I have created for you that you will enjoy purchasing and using. I'm Michelle Aitken. Thank you for joining me as I've explored the wonderful world of TruEmbroidery.